Welcome to the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, Show 28. In our last episode, we talked about money and your family. In today's episode, we've got another 3 questions for one of our Q&A series shows. Welcome to the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, where we bring you real-life strategies on starting and growing a business and finding financial freedom without sacrificing the life you have with your loved ones. We are your hosts, Tom and Ariana Sylvester, and we are married, we're parents, and we're serial entrepreneurs. This podcast is for those who want more out of life. We'll show you how to take the vision you have and create the business that will help you achieve it. Join us as we share practical steps, real-life stories, and help you become a lifestyle builder. All right, you guys, welcome back to the Lifestyle Builders Podcast. We're excited for today. This is our money month of May.
It is the money month of May.
Of course, we had to pick 3 questions all around money because it wouldn't fit into the theme if we didn't. So
yeah, well, and I mean, like everybody has money questions.
Everyone has money questions.
A lot of people.
You want to know what's funny? When I put it out there to have people submit questions about money, very hard to get people to put them out there.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. So, people listening in are obviously getting a lot of benefit from this. And, thank you for the people that submitted. But when we talk to people, like, money is still such a taboo subject, especially if you're in debt. And, unfortunately, there's not a lot that really teaches people about money.
Well, and in the business industry, too, it's kind of assumed everyone's supposed to just know what they need to know about money.
Yeah.
And then instead of showing up and saying, well, I don't know what I need to know, and looking, like, oh, maybe that person doesn't know what they're doing. People don't ask. They don't ask for help when it comes to the financial side of things. And that's where a lot of people trip up and can cause your business to go under or not have the success that you want it to have. So making it less of a taboo subject is a little bit of our goal, I guess.
Yeah, and the thing is, and I'm excited to get into these, what a lot of people do is they avoid money because it intimidates them or they have fear. But what we find time and time again is just by shedding a little bit of light on this, when people look at it, I mean, we've even had coaching clients that they're like, oh, I never look at any of that stuff. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then when they do, they're like, so maybe it wasn't as good as I want it to be, but I feel empowered now that I know, because I can do something about it.
Yes. All right, so with that, let's jump into the first of our 3 questions. For the first question, this was submitted by one of our lifestyle builders, Sarah Guillot, and she says, how do you determine if something is worth paying for or hiring out versus bootstrapping when you are on a budget? For example, doing your own Facebook ads. Everyone says do them yourself first so you aren't ripped off and unaware of how they work, but that could be expensive, taking courses, trial and error, etc., when you could hire someone to help from the get-go. This is a great question because, Sarah, you are not alone. Everyone out there is going through trying to figure out this question. Do I put the money up and just hire somebody to do what I need done? Do I try to do it myself and bumble through something that I don't know really well, but I'm supposed to because I'm the business owner? So I'm excited to jump into this question because I think a lot of people out there want to hear what people's thoughts are on this.
Yeah, and I'm sure, especially with something like this, there's probably people that are on both ends of the spectrum.
Always.
Here's my general philosophy. When you're early on in starting a business, the first thing is you want to make sure you're focused on the right things. Like we see time and time again, people that are venturing off into different areas that either aren't applicable to their business yet or are ultimately distracting them. Especially early on, you want to be very focused on validating your business idea, really understanding your business model. So who are your customers? What are the solutions they need? And you want to keep things simple.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're fans of bootstrapping.
Huge fans of bootstrapping.
Yeah, because, I mean, here's the thing. The lower cost you can keep things at the beginning, the easier it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
Especially while you're still trying to figure your model out. Because spending money until you've really figured out, like, who your clients are, like, I mean, to be honest, any tools you spend, anything you spend at the beginning is going to be more difficult to recoup. And it just makes your business more complex.
Yeah.
With that said, I'm a huge fan of doing a lot of things yourself and doing them at least enough to a point to where you understand them so that you can outsource them.
Correct.
Because where people get in trouble oftentimes is they go and hire somebody, they don't even understand enough about what it is to ask for and to interview somebody good.
Yep.
And then they just kind of assume that person's going to take care of it. And you don't want to be an absentee entrepreneur for the people you're hiring.
Especially depending on what you're hiring somebody for. If it's a good chunk of your business operations and you're hiring someone in to do it and you don't have an understanding of how it's supposed to work, that can get you in real trouble if that person doesn't end up doing their job right and you don't know, because you don't know what it's supposed to look like.
Absolutely. Well, and even hiring, I mean, hiring is a skill. We'll do an episode at some point, but hiring, whether it's an employee of your company or even just a contractor or somebody to do it, there's a lot that goes into that.
Yep.
But when we talk, since we're talking about hiring, one of the first things I would do, like if you're a single entrepreneur, one of the first things I'd be doing is hiring an assistant or a virtual assistant, because when you get started, there's a whole bunch of different tasks that you got to do. And eventually what you're going to figure out is the high value tasks that you bring the most value and you quote unquote
really good at.
Get paid the most for.
Yep.
And then there's the very low value administrative stuff that you can pay somebody else to do. One that doesn't cost a lot of money and kind of get you used to that process of hiring and having a small budget for that.
Yep.
But then it also frees you up to be able to do more of the valuable stuff, focus on the key aspects of your business, and then kind of grow it that way.
Yeah. So I think for this particular question, it is not an easy answer. You are going to have to know your business really well. You also have to have an idea of what are the goals you're trying to hit.
That's
and
key.
What's going to give you the most ROI, return on your investment. So having said that, if you are a solopreneur and you are doing every single thing it takes to run your business, there is only humanly possible so much that you can do by yourself. So in order for your business to grow, in order for your business to evolve, most likely at some point, you're going to have to hire something out. Now, what that something is going to be entirely dependent on your business, on your model, on, if you're making enough money with your current business to have the ability to hire somebody, because obviously that's kind of important. But really looking at some of that and saying, all right, I've got a list of 20 tasks that I have to do right now because I'm the only person. If I could hire somebody in for an hour, a couple hours a week to take the majority of those tasks off my list, or at least the most important ones, and pay that person to do them, and then because you have time opening up to do something else, that's going to be a return on your investment. Now, when it comes to something like Facebook ads, this is a really tricky piece of business because there are a lot of business owners out there who are very good at what they do, but they may not be as good as sales and they may not be very good at marketing. And so they say, I'm going to hire someone to do my Facebook ads. That's good. You're on the right track of, if you're not good at something, to hire somebody else to do it. But as Tom said, you do need to have a basic understanding of your own business and how it runs, where you make money, and who your customers are. In the case of Facebook ads, you want to make sure that when you're hiring somebody to bring on to do your ads, you are giving them the best possible set of information, of starting points, so that when they go to run your ads for you, they're going to be able to get a return on your investment, and you're not just going to both be wasting time and money. So there's a lot of things to think about when it comes to hiring out versus bootstrapping. And I think it ultimately comes down to really, really looking at your business and your goals, whatever the revenue goals are or anything like that, and doing that pros and cons list and saying, okay, maybe I'm not ready now. Let me get a better understanding of this, and hopefully I can get my business to the point I need it to be so that I'm ready a month from now to hire that person.
Yeah, and since this was asking about Facebook ads specifically, here's my take on things. I'm a very big fan of this term, nail it before you scale it. And what we see happen a lot of times is people try to skip steps in their business and just assume that, hey, if I put money into marketing, or hey, if I do a webinar, or whatever that is, they think that this will get them there faster.
Yep.
But here's the thing, the toughest time in your business is usually at the beginning, when you're trying to get the whole model figured out. And a lot of people don't have their model figured out, and they start getting into these other areas. So for example, like if you're going to run any sort of paid traffic, well, let's talk about Facebook ads. You're going to have a budget for the ads. So let's say that's $500 a month, which, to be honest, isn't even that much money. If you're going to hire somebody to do this, they're likely going to charge you a decent amount of money relative to probably where you're at in your business. And what a lot of them will do is they'll charge you a base, and then even sometimes a percentage of ad spend. So you might be paying $1,000 for this person, $500 for your ad budget, if they'll even kind of allow that. Some people have minimums. And then it's likely going to take you a couple months to get the targeting figured out, to get the ad copy figured out, to test a bunch of tests. Yep. And that's all assuming that you've nailed your audience beforehand. You've nailed your offer beforehand.
You've nailed who you've hired to
Yep.
do your ads.
But even that you have a converting offer. Like, that's a big challenge a lot of people have. We've seen it time and time again where somebody's not able to make sales without paid advertising. So then they go and say, well, let me run a bunch of paid advertising and that'll fix the problem. No, if you can't get sales without paid advertising
Just
should only be used in two scenarios. At the beginning, you can put a little bit of money in if you're very targeted with something you want to test. But then outside of that, you need to get organic sales before you start running it, unless you have a big budget. I mean, there's other companies out there, like, there's some entrepreneurs I talk with. They're like, we've got cash, we've got more cash than time. And when we have a new idea, we're going to allocate $20,000 to go and test that idea. And by doing that, we're going to have somebody out there, testing it. We're going to have somebody running ads. We're going to have someone running metrics. So they've got their process down.
Yeah.
But if you're a bootstrapper, if you're figuring this out for the first time, usually you want to focus in on the key things, like you said, really understand your goals, and then make sure that you're making some money and getting the pieces of your business working, and then you use ads or hiring to help do more of what's already working.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot more to this. Like, we'll have an episode in the future, I think, specifically on hiring. But anytime it's a hiring decision, like you said, it's an ROI. And basically what you want to say is, if I put this much money out, what is that going to free up or end up bringing in more? And then usually I like to look for, you at least want to break even.
Yeah.
I like to look for a 2 to 3x. Like, so if I put $500 out, am I going to get 1,000 or 1,500 back? And then really what you want to be doing is looking for like the home runs. Like, if I put money into this, can I get like a 10 times return?
Yeah.
So those are some of the questions and thought processes that I think people want to go through.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to question number 2. And this question comes from Ashley Brasseau-Chacon. Hopefully I said your name somewhat correctly, Ashley.
Much better than I probably would have.
I should have definitely checked with you before we had the show. It's a challenge. It's my challenge every Q&A to pronounce everyone's names correctly. All right. Ashley says, I hate crunching numbers, and keeping track of every penny I spend makes me feel like I'm in prison and have no freedom. AKA, budgets make me want to run in the other direction. My tactic for money management has always been spend as little as possible, and it's always kept me out of the red. However, I know that's not the best money mindset to have, and ultimately doesn't help me reach financial goals. So here's a question. How can I manage my money and budget without it making me feel like I'm losing my freedom?
This is such a good one, and
amazing question.
And budgets come up all the time, and I think most people have the same reaction when they hear the word budget.
Yep.
And one of
I
the
used to have the same reaction when I heard the word budget.
Yeah, well, and I think it's natural because we have this thought of budgets as being restrictive.
Yep.
Where, like, the reframe that I want people listening to think about is, what happens when you don't have a budget? Is basically you're saying, I'm not going to plan out and be intentional with where my money goes. And so instead of looking at a budget of saying, these are all the things I can't do because I'm on a budget, or like I'm on a diet so I can't eat those things, think of it as you're intentionally thinking before money ever comes in. You're saying, here's where I want to spend money.
Yep.
So like a budget doesn't mean, hey, we can't go out to dinner. A budget means we've got a certain amount of money and we've got certain things we want to do. And we've got to prioritize all the things we want to do and figure out how to best use our money.
Yep.
Now, some people may be big savers, and like Matt and Allie, right? So they said, what's important to us is being able to leave our jobs in our mid-20s and travel the country while building our business. So
to have that freedom that we get from having 4 years of expenses saved up.
Absolutely. So what they did was they aligned their money habits with that.
Yep.
Now, other people may say, well, I don't want to travel the country. I really
want a nice house and I want to be able to take my family on vacation.
I really want a nice house. So they might put more budget towards their house, but they may cut back on another area and say, that's cool, but I don't care about a car, so I'm going to have a 10-year-old car. I don't have car payments. I'm good.
Yep.
So I think the first reframe is just realizing that a budget's not restrictive. It's basically saying, where do I want to spend my money? And then let me just define that out so that the money doesn't just suddenly slip away. I know where it's going, and then I put it there.
Well, and I think having a budget in place is what really gives you the control over your money instead of outside factors having a control.
That's a good point.
And that's what a lot of us have is, all right, well, I went and spent this on this one thing. So now because I owe that thing, I don't have control over this money coming in because I know already that this much has to go over there to cover it. So when you get all of those things adding up, obviously you have a certain portion of your income that's always going to be already taken. So when you're looking at a budget, it gives you the ability to say, okay, here's what I know I have to pay for. If I don't want to pay for these things anymore, what are my options?
Yep.
Because that's something too. Like a lot of us feel like we're set and we're dialed in. We don't have a choice. Once we've made a purchase, that's it. It's all over. We've got to pay for it for however long. Whereas afterwards, you can really look at it and say, okay, this isn't where I want my money to go. How can I shift and maybe get rid of that one purchase? Like, do I sell my car and get a lower, cheaper car payment instead of a house? If the mortgage is killing me, do I go and move into an apartment? What is it that you want, and how can you choose to have the control over it? And I think when it comes to our businesses, that is a tough thing to do. If you are a saver at home and you're always saving, when you get into a business, it's really tough because you come in with that same sort of idea of like, no, I don't want to spend any money. I want to spend as little as possible. That's always what I've been told I'm supposed to do. And that makes it really difficult for your business to have any growth.
Yep.
Because whether it's a time investment or a money investment or both, you're going to need to invest those things in your business at certain points. And there's going to come these levels where you hit a certain level and you aren't able to get past it. And usually it's going to take some mindset work to get past it and on a personal level, but it's also going to take a little bit of scary like money investment that you have to say, okay, I know that in order to get to the next level, I need to join a higher level mastermind. I need people around me who are successful. I need people that are going to poke the holes in my business so that I can grow and my business can grow. But that's a scary purchase for a lot of people. If you've been running your business for a long time with spending the least amount possible, to then go and spend a lot of money to, as they call it, up level or to get your business to grow can be really tough.
Well, and I think a key thing you hit on, a lot of times people get afraid of money decisions because they're not thinking about it in the bigger picture. So if it's your personal life, like our Plan with Purpose course, what we always guide people through is getting clear on what do you want out of life? Yeah. Like what's important to you? And then when you come back and look at like your personal finances, is how you're spending money in alignment with where you want your life to be, right? So I think personal life, that's important, but also the same thing with business. So like you said, some of your habits are going to carry over, but what you want to be thinking about is what are the goals for the business? And then am I allocating my money proportionally in relation to get to those goals? And there's always some good guidelines that you can use on like, what percentage of your money should go into different places and all of that. But what it really comes down to is understanding your goals, looking at the resources you have available, which is both your time and money, and then making a decision to say, what's the best way to allocate that?
Yep.
And if you're doing it on a small scale, especially let's say your business is just starting, if you're doing it on a small scale from the beginning, and you're setting goals, you're seeing how you spend and plan your money, and then you're reevaluating your goals and you move from there, you get into this process and this habit of setting and then being able to make decisions relative to that.
Yep.
So it makes it a lot easier than when you're just saying like, oh, do I make this big purchase? Or I don't want to take on debt because I had a really bad experience in my personal life with debt and I don't want to do that. Some of this is different when it comes to business because personal debt, if you're taking it on as a liability for something you can't afford versus a business, if you've kind of proven your concept and you're saying, I'm going to take on some debt to help my business grow.
Yep.
But, I think a lot of this really comes down to just having control. And we've probably all been in situations where we haven't had control over something in our lives. And when you don't have control, that's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
Whereas on the flip side, by understanding how much money comes in, where it's going, and to be able to make a decision, you have so much more control over the success of both your personal life as well as your business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think our third question actually adds on really well to the second question. So I'm going to read Jake Ballinger. I should have probably asked him how to pronounce his last name also. Had an add-on to that question, and he says, tell me about when I should be investing in my business. Even if I can't, quote, afford that $2,000 course or $8,000 mastermind, is it still a good business investment that will pay dividends in the long run?
Yeah, and so this is actually a really good question too. Do I say that with every question?
I'm pretty sure you say that with every single question, but they're all really good questions.
All right, so here's my take on it. When we get to business and we talk about investing, we've got to look at things a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. At the very beginning of your business, one of the things I'd look at is how much money do you have to put into your business? Because you're going to want to make the best use of that money. Yeah. Usually that is educating yourself. That could be a low cost through books and podcasts just like this one. That could be a little more by buying courses or even hiring someone to help you in. Mm-hmm. So some of it depends on how much money you have available and then putting it to the best use. But the other thing to think about, and a rough guideline I like to tell people, look at how much money your business is generating. And then a ballpark is you want to reinvest anywhere from 3 to 10% of that money in. What this guideline will do, if you just kind of take it as a first pass, is it'll tell you what portion of your business or of your revenue coming in should you be spending. So it's going to make sure that you don't spend at a different level than your business is at. Yep. So for example, if you're very new and you go and spend $5,000 on a coach, you may not be able to take full advantage of that coach and the money you spent because you're not at a point and your business isn't at a point to leverage it. Yep. But if you're in business and you're making a decent amount of money, and now you spend that $5,000, that coach is going to really be able to help get you to that next level, maybe help optimize your business depending on what their expertise is. So that's a rough guideline that I like to give people.
Yeah, and I think this is a great question too because we've had a lot of people talk about knowing whether or not it's worth it for them to go to business conferences or like live events, because a lot of people look at investing in their business needing to have a direct ROI. So I want to pay for this thing and then I want to see how it's going to immediately, up my revenue in my business. Whereas there can be other things that you invest in that might be a little bit of a longer term game or an indirect way to have an effect on your business. So, there's a lot of people that go to conferences. Going to the conference itself is not a direct impact on your business in a monetary way because most of the time you're going to learn, you're going to network, maybe you're going to have some partnership opportunities or like something like that. But it is kind of important to know too what those different levels of investment are and what those different levels of impact can be from certain investments. So, obviously, if you're spending $8,000 on a mastermind, I would hope you're getting a good return on, what's that doing for your business? How is that helping you grow? How is that helping your business grow? Are you meeting other people that you can collaborate with and things like that? Whereas if you're going to an event, maybe you're spending a little bit more on the event ticket, like, $1,000, and then you've got to buy your plane ticket and your lodging. So it can be a little bit pricier as well, a couple $1,000s to go to an event. But for those are, as Tom would like to say, those are investments that are more planting the seed. So those are a little bit tougher to evaluate up front because you don't know what the effect is going to be ultimately until you've gone and done some things and met some people. But they can also be a really good thing for your business to do. Obviously, they wouldn't have anything to do with paying dividends in the long run, but...
Yeah, well, and here's a couple of things. So if you guys have listened to the podcast, when we first got started, I spent $7,500 on a high interest rate credit card thinking that that was the only way I could get started in real estate. And the training that I went to, like I only ended up going to the first training because it wasn't much value. And what I found was that I actually got more information for free on websites and by spending a couple $100s on books because early on, I just needed a lay of the land and a way to get started. Yeah. I didn't need because part of this training was here's all these different ways to invest in real estate. I didn't need that at the beginning. So there was no reason that I should have spent that money. And for most people early on, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to get information, there are so many podcasts, there's so many books, and even like our membership, our Lifestyle Builders membership, it's very low cost. It's less than $500 a year and less than $50 a month. Yeah. So at the beginning, I don't think most people should spend thousands of dollars on that. The key thing is get clear on your goals. Figure out what are the next steps that you need to get there, and then find the right resource for you. Now, a couple things I'll say about this. Depending on what your personal kind of views on money are, you might have to allocate some money differently in your personal budget to be able to get this going. Yep. So I would never advise anybody to put their, if you got a family, don't put your family at risk. Make sure that you can pay for the roof over your head. Make sure you can pay for utilities. Make sure you can pay for food. Make sure you can pay for your car or whatever. Take care of the key things that you need to live. But beyond that, looking at your budget to say, all right, how much of this do I want to allocate to get to my goals or to be able to build this business? On the flip side, the other thing I would say is, you talked about ROI, return on investment, before. The other thing is also ROT, return on time. And a lot of people don't think about this. Yeah. So if you don't have a lot of money and you have a lot more time available, you could potentially spend that time reading books and doing a bunch of research and doing trial and error on your own. And that might be the best path for you. If on the flip side, let's say, for example, you have a decent job and you've got money saved, but as you're trying to start your business, you don't necessarily have the time to do all of that because that time is going to take away from your family. So in that case, you might be better off to spend money to buy a course or even hire somebody to work with you because the money isn't the big thing for you, it's the time. Yeah. So I think that's the other important thing to look at too is based on your situation, what's more important to you, time or money? How much can you afford without putting you or your family at risk? And then really, are you going to take advantage of it? So many people will buy, let's say a $2,000 course because they think the course is going to solve their problems. Yeah. The course may give you guidance, but if you don't take action on it, it doesn't matter.
I think that's the key piece. There is no easy button.
Correct.
And everyone thinks that, the more money I spend, then I should just be able to do this thing. No, that's not the case. There is no easy button when it comes to building and running a business. As you said, you have to put the work in. But I do think if you are somebody who you found something that you truly believe is going to help you build your business and it's going to help you do it maybe a little bit faster, there is that awkward line of, it's just past what I feel like I can afford. And I know a lot of people struggle with, do I do it? Do I wait? Do I try to do it on my own? It is kind of a tough spot to be in. But when I think about investing in the business, to me, it always feels just slightly uncomfortable. We never want to do anything that really is going to put us at risk or is going to put the business finances in a bad place and then potentially make us have to cover from personal, like that to me is too much. But if you are looking at, okay, my business is bringing in a little bit of money and there's this thing that I really truly believe is going to help me grow to the next level that I need to get to, and it's a slightly uncomfortable purchase, I think that's kind of the sweet spot where you want to be investing in something. It's something that you can maybe just afford, and you know that you're going to get an ROI because you need to learn what they're teaching and you know you're going to take the action on it. That's when I think it's definitely worth investing in that thing for you.
Yeah, and the other important thing to call out is there's so many people that will invest in a whole bunch of stuff that sounds good, but it's not immediately applicable to their business. So, I mean, for example, there's always new courses that are launched.
Yep.
And I mean,
there's always masterminds. There's always live events.
Well, and people are marketers, right? Everybody's marketing, and there's this FOMO, right? Fear of missing out.
Don't give in to the FOMO.
And so we find a lot of people that they'll come to us and they'll be like, what do you think about this course? Or what do you think about this investment? And one of the first questions we ask is, is it in line with your goals? Like, what are you trying to do? And they're like, well, I'm trying to build this product business. And we're like, well, why are you looking at this course that's about a membership or something like that, right? So it's not in alignment with their goals and what they need, but they're like, oh yeah, but it's only available now, or it's only a good deal. Like, if you're thinking about it that way, I would recommend you kind of take a step back. And the other thing too,
have a purchase partner where before you buy anything, you check in with that partner, an entrepreneurial friend of yours or somebody.
Especially if you go to a conference or something, that's key.
I know a lot of people say that at conferences. They'll give their credit card to somebody else to make sure that they don't sign up for something just because they feel the emotional FOMO of everyone else that's doing it, and they just jump in and sporadically buy something.
And that's the thing, when somebody's going through a launch, they're hitting on your emotions. Or when you're at a conference, it's hitting on your emotion. You're in that environment, you get charged up, you get excited. And I mean, there's a lot of really good deals out there. So I'm not putting down courses or masterminds. Well, all I'm saying is just make sure that you're making a good decision for you and you're not letting your emotion kind of sway that, like, for something that isn't the right fit or isn't the right time. Yeah. Because, as you said, things are always available. And the other thing I'll say too, if it sounds too good to be true, or if it sounds like an easy button, it probably is. Like, we'll link to the article that we put out about how to hire a good business coach. And what we find time and time again is that people get into like a coaching relationship because the coach promises that they'll do something in a certain amount of time. Like, I saw somebody the other day, they're like, oh, I help people make $100,000 in business in 7 days.
I saw that. It's nuts.
And I'm like, I had to play in. I'm like, how do you do that? And he's like, oh, by teaching them this. I said, oh, so by teaching them something, they're going to instantly make $100,000 in 7 days. And the scary thing is other people were jumping in and they're like, oh, tell me more. Let me tell you, unless you're an experienced entrepreneur and you've got a whole bunch of stuff set up, you're not making that much money in 7 days. Yep. You're probably not even making it in 30 or 60.
Or a year.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your experience level and whatever else. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. When you're going to hire somebody or when you're going to take a course, do your due diligence and use your gut, because...
And look at what level your business is at.
Yep.
As you said, don't buy into things before you're ready just because somebody had really shiny marketing that you were like, ooh, I want that. Really have a good idea of where you're at and what are the next steps that you need to take to get your business to the level it needs to be at.
Well,
so before you go jumping into a larger mastermind, make sure that you and your business are ready. Because as you pointed out early on, if you jump into a coaching relationship or a mastermind before you're ready, not only are you letting yourself and your business down, but then you're letting the other person down as well, or the other people. Because they're coming into this relationship thinking this person's ready, they're going to take action, we're going to do great things together. And, your mastermind group is thinking that you're coming in at a level that's ready to help them grow their business. So you're really harming more people than yourself in your business. And that's never a position that you want to be in.
Yeah, well, obviously we could talk about
we could talk about this all day.
We could talk about this for a long time. But it's really important as we're talking about this and as we're looking to make any of these decisions that we think it through. Obviously, if we've got spouses or family members or anything else involved, we want to talk it through with them too and make sure that it's going to be a good decision across the board. And I had another really good thought and I just completely lost it. Yeah.
And I always stress to people to really have a good handle on your business finances, because as we talked about in the budget question, a lot of people don't actually know how much money is coming in and going out of their business. And you get to that point where you're kind of scared to look because you don't think you're going to like what you see. You have to know what your finances look like before you're even thinking about investing in that next thing. Because if you don't know, there's more of a chance that you're going to just glance and say, I think I'm good. And you're going to jump in. And if that puts you in a bad spot, now you're stuck trying to crawl out of that bad spot and get your money back so that your business can continue running. Instead of knowing ahead of time and saying, okay, I know that I'm in a good place. This is just a tiny bit uncomfortable for me. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the work and make sure that I get the return on it.
Yeah. Well, and here's let's just share something we've done in our business. So with our one-on-one coaching, we actually have a minimum of what a business should be making in order to apply. Now, there's times so for us, if you want to do one-on-one coaching with us, your business needs to be making at least $100,000. Now, there's times where we'll make exceptions. So let's say, for example, somebody has the money available, they have the experience, they just don't have the time.
Yep.
So we'll screen them, and if they're a good fit, we may let them into that. But one of the things we always do when we talk to people is get a feeling for where their personal finances as well as where their business is, and we guide them into the right program for them.
Yes.
So there's been people that have come to us and they're like, I'm in a lot of debt, and part of why I'm doing this, part of why I'm trying to start this business is to pay it off. We don't want to put them further in debt.
Correct.
And that's a big reason that we've always kept lifestyle builders very low cost, because we want to get in and help get the initial things there so you get out of debt. And then we've got programs and we've got offers that are higher level. And, this is where I think it comes down to another thing too, when you're investing with someone, investing with the right person and the right fit.
Yes.
So one of the things we never,
sure your values align.
Yeah, we never want to put somebody in a worse off situation. But unfortunately, a lot of people out there will just say, well, I've got the money. I don't necessarily care about
a lot of
who's
people
buying
say it's none of my business what someone wants to do with their money. And to some extent, that's right. You can't control other people. You can't control their lives. And it isn't necessarily any of your business how that person lives their personal life. But when it comes to business and when it comes down to what you're looking to do, our ultimate goal is to help people build a lifestyle and the business to support that. So if off the bat we're starting a relationship with somebody and they're trying to invest before they're ready, it's kind of up to us to say, hey, let's slow down, let's take a step. Are you sure you're ready to be able to invest in this? Because the last thing we want you to do is to jump in before you're ready and to put yourself, your business, and your family in a worse off spot. And we've gotten flack for it before for, talking about finances or asking people about certain things. And to be honest, that's a really big part of our values, is to make sure that people aren't getting into a worse spot. So if we got to come out and ask you and say some tough love, we're going to do it. I'm just going to say that. So be prepared, everyone.
Yeah. Well, and so hopefully, we've kind of talked about a bunch of different stuff around this. Hopefully what you guys are hearing is that it's not a hard and fast rule.
Correct.
There's certain times where it's you probably should not be spending that money for a variety of reasons. But then on the flip side, there's also times where it's you've got to reinvest, and one of the best investments you can make is in yourself, especially if you're going to take action on it. So, anytime...
Yeah, you're going to hit multiple levels as you're growing your business, where you either need to invest in yourself, in your own personal development in some way, or you've got to invest in your business in order for your business to be able to grow and scale.
Yeah, so what I like to do with investments...
With the hiring question.
Yeah.
Up number one.
Well, and I think you hit on it earlier. It's kind of like when we set goals. When you set goals, you want to set goals that are just a little bit outside your comfort zone so they push you and so you're going to take action. It's almost the same thing with investing. You want to be investing at or maybe just a little bit above your comfort zone. If an investment is like too big and it's just causing you fear and whatever else, it's probably too big. Look for something that's a stepping stone to that. But if it's a little bit outside your comfort zone, you're like, I'm going to have my family covered. I'm not going to be living on the street. But, maybe I got to cut back on some of these other things to make the investment. Yep. That's probably something where, it'd be a good thing to do.
Yep. And you'll learn as you start to make some of these investments in your business, as you start to see some of the results and the after effects, you'll be able to see right away what investments you've made that have been worth it, and then which ones were kind of, maybe I didn't need to have that. So as you build your business and as you grow, you're going to get a better idea of the types of investments that are right for you. So just, keep that in mind. Make sure you're keeping track of everything and, going back and reflecting on things that you have invested on in the past and saying, all right, I spent this much, maybe this much amount of time on it. Do I feel like that was an investment that was worth it in my business? If it's a yes, there you go. Now you know that type of investment was good for you, and you can look for, all right, when I hit the next level, what are some of the things that I'm going to be looking to invest in? If it was a no, I don't think I should have invested. Now you know to take a step back and evaluate before you spend money on your next investment to make sure that you don't have the same results.
Yeah, and you know what? To be honest, you'll probably make some mistakes along the way. The key thing is, make those mistakes fast and make sure they're not too big.
Yep, make them early and make them fast. Hopefully, you are not making very, very large ones. All right, I feel like we've talked for so long on this, and as you said, we could probably keep going. But before we close out the show, I do want to say a big thank you to everyone who submitted questions for today's show, Sarah, Ashley, and Jake. And we will post up their links to their businesses on the show notes page, which will be at tomandariana.com/28 if you are interested in getting to know those people a little bit better and checking out what they do. It's been another great episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and lifestyle builders.
And just quick before we jump in, if you guys would like us to answer a question on the air, you can do that where?
At tomandariana.com/question.
Perfect. And with that, I want you guys to remember, as always, it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Do you want real-time guidance and support from seasoned entrepreneurs who really care about your results? If you're nodding your head or awkwardly shouting yes in public somewhere, then we invite you to join Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. You can find out more at joinlifestylebuilders.com.
Your life, your business, your way. Join Family Entrepreneur Life. Join Family Entrepreneur